With the draft and free agency and the beginning of the season in the horizon, it's coming up and it's very, very soon. I thought this was the perfect time to show you guys what I believe the Chicago Bulls are missing to take the next step. Now, there are obvious signs, there are obvious things that we are missing, but there are some minor things that I believe that if we can get and we can improve on, that we can seriously become a bigger threat in this NBA and to the Eastern Conference. So without further ado, I want to talk about some of the aspects that I think the Chicago Bulls should improve on. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aiden Sports Show. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls video in relation to the key improvements that I think that the Chicago Bulls should do in order to take the next step in their team progression and of course in the NBA. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aiden Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on. We are only one subscriber away, I believe, from 280 subscribers, and obviously that means we'll be 20 away from the big goal, which is 300. Let's see how quickly we can get there. I know we can get there. It's all about just how quick it can be. But enough about that. This is the perfect time, in my opinion, to make this video. And the reason why is there's not that many Chicago Bulls trade rumors out there these days. There's not that many Bulls news these days. And I figured being this close to the NBA draft, being this close to free agency, and of course with the season coming at this 22nd of December, it seems to be a very good time to make this style of video. And of course, I'll be making it again once we have all of our players that we know that are going to be Chicago Bulls players towards the end of the free agency period. I'll make the same sort of video. But at this team, at this point in time, it seems like the Chicago Bulls have a lot to improve on. Of course, a very lackluster season last year, there were certain things that the Chicago Bulls just could simply not do right. And I think with this season upcoming, we need to improve on a lot of things. This team is very young, this team is very energetic, this team is very willing to learn and to progress and to get better. And in order to get better, I feel like some of these aspects that I'm about to mention need to be orchestrated into this team. Obviously, with a new front office, a new coaching staff, we expect a lot of these things to be improved. But of course, before I get into the things that I think the Chicago Bulls need to be improved, with this team, I want to know what you guys think as well. At the end of the day, it's not one person's job to figure out what's wrong with the Chicago Bulls and how to fix them. This is an opinion of a fan. And of course, as so many fans out there, probably that have watched longer than me, probably know more about basketball than me, you might be able to give more of an insight on these things. But again, just try and keep things respectful, guys. If someone has a different opinion, that's fine. It's all about trying to contribute in your own way, to find your own way to make the Chicago Bulls one of the best teams in the NBA. And it's a long progress. It's not going to be easy, but I feel like we all have some very important things to say, and our opinions do matter to this organization. So let's start off with the very first thing. And the very first thing is the most obvious thing, and it's the thing that I think we are looking for the most. It is the playmaking side of basketball. I think everybody knows for a long time now, the Chicago Bulls have been one of the worst passing teams in the league. Our entire offensive piece, our entire offensive game was passing it to Zach LaVine or passing it to Kobe White and allowing him to take the shot with the shot clock to go. There was no real playmaker. There was no real person to set up the movement. There was no real player to orchestrate everybody in their spots and try to make a play and do it efficiently and do it effectively. We don't have that playmaking guard, playmaking forward, wherever you want to get your playmaker from. Playmaking has been a big, big issue. And from what we have heard, there are players on this team that are learning to try and make better. Kobe White has said in that scrimmage a long time ago, it feels like, the Chicago Bulls, Kobe White is working on his playmaking, working on his offensive game, trying to become that point guard that we all know he can be. And that's good. That's a good stride. Zach LaVine has even come out and said he's working on his playmaking as well. At the end of the day, the point guard position, the playmaking position can come from all over the court. From 1 through 5, playmaking should be a big deal for everybody on that team. So playmaking is something that does need to be improved on. You have your guards that are working on playmaking. I know Wendell Carter can be a good playmaker. I actually 100% believe he can be. Larry Marketing, that's a part of his game that I think needs to develop alongside with many other parts of his game, the playmaking side. Otto Porter needs to work on his playmaking. If we get LaMelo Ball or Denny, that's a huge addition to that playmaking side of the game for the Chicago Bulls. So ultimately, this is the most needed thing for the Chicago Bulls, and I think it's the most warranted and the thing that we are looking for the most. And fixing that will obviously should make us a better team. It should make us a well-structured, well-oriented, well-orchestrated team with the Chicago Bulls. But there is something else that comes to the side of playmaking, because if you're just going to ask a playmaker to make something out of nothing, most of the time they won't be able to do it. So the second thing I wanted to discuss outside of playmaking is the ball movement and the movement of our players. You've seen some of the best teams in the world. Some of the best teams in the world move the ball like an orchestra. It goes from one to one to one to one. The ball keeps on moving. The ball keeps on flowing. The players keep on moving, and it's very hard to stop. The Golden State Warriors comes to mind from the very, very latest team that really had that style of play to keep the ball moving 1 through 5. It's going to go to everybody before the shot gets up, and they can still do it in a quick succession. Everybody's moving. Stephen Curry, one of the best point guards in the world, never stops moving, never stops rotating. Klay Thompson never stops rotating. And of course, the team that I believe is the front runner and the team that many people built their styles off is the San Antonio Spurs. You have teams like Boston Celtics now trying to replicate what the Spurs are, what the Spurs were, with that Tim Duncan side, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, that fantastic, amazing team that won championships. Their ball movement was impeccable. For a lot of the times, the ball never hit the ground. And I think that style of ball movement, I think the Chicago Bulls do need to implement as well. Now, I'm not saying we have to be the next San Antonio Spurs. We don't have to be the next Golden State Warriors. But that's the side of the game. If we want to improve our playmaking, we need to improve our ball movement and the way that we move as well. A lot of the times with the Chicago Bulls, they often just stand still. They stand still. They allow us pick and roll. Maybe they don't rotate. There's no movement in this team, and I think that's a big part. If you want to improve your playmaking, the biggest part of improving your playmaking is, of course, the ball movement and the rotations of these players to move to different spots to make it harder for any sort of NBA defense to guard you at any given time. It's a big step. I think with this coaching staff, the way that Billy Donovan plays, I feel like this is a necessary step, and I think this is definitely a capable step, and the Chicago Bulls definitely need to improve this as well. Now, another big problem the Chicago Bulls do have, and it's probably just the same as the playmaking, it is very important, and it always will be important for any team that wants to win an NBA championship. We need to play both sides of the ball. So offensively, we talked about the playmaking, we talked about the ball movement, we talked about the rotation, we talked about the diversity as well. Of course, when you're rotating, you need the diversity and have the ability to have everybody to take shots. And many of the best teams were able to do that. The Spurs and the Warriors are the key examples. But again, the defensive side of the ball is just as important as any offense you could ever draw up. At the end of the day, you can score 100 points, but you'll never win a game if you allow your opponent to score 110. With the Chicago Bulls, the defensive side of the game has been very poor, both on the starting lineup and in the bench. Now, we have a lot of individual defenders that I think are very good with the Chicago Bulls. For example, Wendell Carter and Daniel Gafford, the two centers, I think are very solid defenders in their own right. In their own right, individually, they are fantastic defenders. Chris Dunn off the bench and Shaquille Harrison are great defenders. Chris Dunn, I believe, was second in steals in the NBA or very close within the top 5. That's how important Chris Dunn was to the defense. However, as a team, as a unit, we have been very poor on the defensive side. And we can name the players, but I think we all know the players that we're talking about. And defense is a big part of how to win games. We are a great offensive side, and we will be a better offensive side this season. But if we cannot improve that defensive side of the game, then we will not win that many games compared to last season. We might win a few more, but we won't win enough to guarantee us into the playoffs or even to guarantee us to take a next step in the development of this team. So players that try on defense need to get better at it. Players that are coming into the league need to get better at the defense. Obviously, many people, and I personally would still pick Denny or LaMelo Ball, but a lot of people, and again, these people have a very good point, would like us to draft a defensive player in this NBA draft because that is a key element that we are looking for. Now again, the NBA defense can be taught. Billy Donovan is a good coach. He should be able to teach the defensive side of the game to this team. What we need more or less not just 4 individual players to play defense. We need a team unit defense. We need to find a structure for all of our defensive players, no matter if they're a weak defensive player or a good defensive player. We need to find a structure that makes it easier to play defense with this team. Certain styles of play, like the Lakers, for example, who are very, very massive, we need to find a way to deal with the big players that they have, with the Dwight Howards and the JaVale McGee's and the Anthony Davises. We need to find a way to deal with players like that on the defensive side. But still, there are teams like the Rockets that are small ball. It's extremely different, a different style of play. We need to find a way to deal with that as well. Now, again, on paper, we can deal with the big and the small ball. We have Daniel Gafford, who is a very good center, a very tall center. We can go big. We have Wendell Carter that allows us to go small ball. We have the opportunities here to be able to play big and small. But defensively, we do not seem to have a clue how to defend as a team. And defending as the team is the first step to a successful team. There have been teams that have been solely known for their defense that have been very successful. You guys remember the Memphis Grizzlies, how they called it the grindhouse, how you had to scrape a win out of the Grizzlies if you're going to win at their home? That's the type of mentality that the Bulls did have as well back in the day, with Derrick Rose, with Joakim Noah, with Luol Deng, with Jimmy Butler. These players, these defensive players. I mean, D Rose wasn't a defensive player, but of course he was definitely our best player at the time. These players made it so difficult to score. We were the best rebounding team. We were the best defensive team. I think we led the league in blocks. We were that dominating team that made it so hard for teams to come and score on us. And that's why everybody had an issue when they versed us. We were a bad team, man. And I mean that in a good way. We were a defensive unit. We need to see that back here at Chicago. And I think the Chicago Bulls fans love the hustle plays. We love the players that give everything to this team. And they're going to dive into the crowd for the ball. That ball is their life, and they're going to protect it with their life. They're going to make it their ball. We all love those types of players. And that's why Joakim Noah is a fan favorite here. That's why Jimmy Butler is a fan favorite here. That's why when you see any sort of defensive player, they are a good player and they're our player and we like them. We need to see more of this with the Chicago Bulls. More defense equals more wins, and potentially, like they always say, defense wins championships. If we're ever going to be a championship team, whether it's 2 years down the line or 5 years down the line, however long it may be, the defensive side of the game needs to improve. We need to be a top 5 defensive and offensive team, and that's when we're going to see a huge improvement. Now, of course, I mentioned the defensive side. So what exactly would we need? Obviously, we have individuals, the structure, but I do think something as well that's been very, very poor this season is the rebounding. And even when we allow teams, we defend well, we allow teams to get more opportunities more often than not. Now, Wendell Carter has had a fantastic rebounding year, and Daniel Gafford is going to be a good player that can rebound the ball and brings athleticism. But there's not enough rebounding awareness on this team. Larry Markkinen, for example, had a very poor rebounding year compared to his first 2 years. That's something that needs to be improved. Larry Markkinen is a fantastic player. He is an athletic player, and he can definitely do that side of the game just as much as anybody. But we need to see more of it. We need to see more players crash the boards. I understand the time to run and go on a fast break, but sometimes you need to hold on to the ball in order to get those fast breaks, in order to get more opportunities. At the end of the day, if you allow more opportunities to the other team, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're going to win the game. We need to make sure we get the most opportunities. We get offensive boards. We get defensive boards. We need to make sure that we are one of the front runners in the rebounding races for any team in the East and in the West. I think that's a big part of it as well. So, let's see what we've gone over so far. Playmaking, ball movement, player movement. We've went to the defensive side, defending as a team, individual defenders. We also went into the rebounding. These are big things for the Chicago Bulls. These are the big things. And there is still more to come. Another thing that I think the Chicago Bulls need to sort out is its rotation. Are we going to switch on the pick and roll? Are we going to stay on the pick and roll? Most teams these days are able to switch on the pick and roll and still have a very good, whether it's a power forward or a center that can guard a point guard. A lot of teams have that these days. We need to be able to do that. And I think that is a very good part of the game, because with the Chicago Bulls, it feels like if you put Larry Markkinen in a pick and roll, there's a good chance that if Larry does switch, it's not going to be good. So we need to find a way to adjust. We need to find a way to help Larry Marketing, to help the players that are weaker, even Zach LaVine to a certain extent. We need to find ways to get these players to be able to help each other. When, again, coaches always say it, when someone makes a mistake, you want your brother in arms to help you. I think Eric Spoelstra said it multiple times. When one person makes a mistake, we need the other person to recover from that mistake and to help. And that's what the Chicago Bulls need as well. I've seen a lot of plays this season where no one helps when someone makes a mistake. Easy cuts to the paint. That should not be allowed with this team. It just absolutely shouldn't. It's basketball fundamentals, really. You need to help people that have been beat. And that's a big part of this game as well. So there are many things with the Chicago Bulls. I've given a few. I know there are a bunch more, but I don't want to make this video too long because, again, we could talk about this all day and all night. So hopefully you guys agree with what I say. Hopefully you guys agree with my opinion. But again, if you don't agree with my opinion, feel free to let your comments rain in below. What do you think the Chicago Bulls need to improve on? This is a video that I hope that could be spread across the Bulls fans and even Bulls players so they can help see what the fans believe just as much as what the coaching staff believe. And I don't think we're far off from what the coaching staff would want as well. These are key things that a lot of people have been talking about for quite some time now. So if you guys have any brand new suggestions that I have failed to mention, leave them in the comments below. That'd be very appreciated. If you guys agree or disagree with what I say, let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. Because at the end of the day, one Bulls fan's opinion is not wrong compared to another, and it's everybody has their right to say something and it could be valid. So with the Chicago Bulls fans, this is a very important video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I think this is the perfect time to do it as there is no big news, there's no free agency news, it's still the trade, it's still NBA draft really, and I think a lot of people have their eyes focused on that. So again, this is where I think the Chicago Bulls can improve. Free agency, the draft, trades, we can make sure that some of these players help fix these issues. But at the end of the day, these are the things that do need to be sorted, whether it's by coaching or by different players in this team. That's what we need to work on. Hopefully everybody will be healthy this season, and hopefully we can get things on the road. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day. I am exhausted, I am tired, and I'm going to sleep, but you guys know what to do. Comment and I'll answer. Take care.